Hi, I'm Stephanie Rothman. I was a writer-director, and I made films between 1964 and 1975. Its messages can be so subversive. They can be so different than what the viewer expected, and it can either consciously or unconsciously influence them. That, in my view, is where its powers lie. When I saw Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, which I did as a student at the University of California at Berkeley, long before I thought of being a filmmaker, when I saw this film, I was so overwhelmed by it that I thought to myself, I would love to make a film like this. And I didn't find out how I could do it for a number of years after that, but that's when it first occurred to me. I was really enthralled by French film, and especially by Jean Renoir. He started making films in the 30s, but he really goes into the 40s and 50s. Henri Clouzot, whose films, without exception, I found absolutely compelling, fascinating. Again, they are laced with anger, they're laced with unhappiness, they're laced with cruelty, and they're brilliant. He achieved a great balance, I think, in that. Then we get into the 60s, and there's Francois Truffaut, of course, and there is Pier Paolo Pasolini, who again made these wonderful films, critical films, passionate films, unsparingly honest films. And after that, I wouldn't say there are too many major influences on me. My tastes at that point had been pretty well formed.
What about...
Oh, excuse me. I have one more to say, yes. I shouldn't forget him. How could I forget either of them? Federico Fellini and Luchino Visconti. Also, what panoramas of life they, portrayed. They all just filled me with such pleasure and with such excitement, and they enslaved their audiences, not just with their images, but with the ideas in their films. And yes, there was one other person too, and that, of course, I should not have forgotten, and that was Stanley Kubrick, who was not just a marvelous filmmaker, but in his own way, a visionary. I enjoy every aspect of it, from original conception to screenplay to production to post-production, including editing and sound recording and the final product. It's all a pleasure. Obviously, some of it is far more physically taxing than other parts, but it's all a pleasure. And by the way, writing a screenplay and conceiving of something requires a lot of energy too, and a lot of how shall I put it, retreating into one's mind and racking one's brains for all one's life experiences. If you're going to be a writer-director, you're the one with the vision, who has created the idea. And unless you collaborate with another writer, which I did in many cases, not always though, but unless you do that, it's actually a rather lonely process in my experience. You just have to expose yourself to all the vicissitudes of fortune that are involved in making a film, but ultimately you have to do it alone. I would like to have reflected accurately and provocatively the times in which I lived. I don't think anyone can do any more than that, you know. And I would like future generations, if my work prevails and is seen by future generations, to find something in it that they can relate to, something of their own. Well, if they take advantage of it, it allows students to be exposed to films that they otherwise would never know about or see. I mean, in other words, an art house cinema gives you a great education. I got an education when I was at Berkeley from the art house cinema that was there, which at that time, I have to tell you this, was managed by the film critic Pauline Kael. She did not become, Pauline Kael as everyone knows her at that time. This was an earlier time, but she was the manager, and I'm sure probably, I don't know for sure, but probably the programmer too of the art house cinema in Berkeley. And it was there that I saw many foreign films that also impressed me. Beyond just The Seventh Seal, I also saw their Paths of Glory, which is my favorite war film. What a marvelous film, which is what introduced me to Stanley Kubrick. And I also saw their La Strada, So I saw remarkable films there that educated me before I even thought of becoming a filmmaker. And that's really what a good university art cinema should be.